Do you need to check your notes or anything? You don't have notes.
I don't have notes. I never have notes.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, rolling. Go ahead.
Silence. 3, 2, 1.
It goes beyond just what the game type is into, there's a few different types of players. There's the players that are there for the game, and there's the players that are there for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everybody wants to be that hero.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what they pay for.
And contours and
That's what they
GoPros
pay
have just made it
damages
even
for.
worse.
Yeah.
But I think
Absolutely.
that feeds into another topic that we should probably touch on is, everyone's talking about squad leaders. 12-year-old, fat boy, ice cream sandwich, leading all the squared away operators.
Right.
So that comes down to authority. Is it perceived authority or legitimate authority? So in some cases I've seen in the past with some event promoters is there's essentially a survey you take when you sign up. So you punch in, you punch in all your info.
I never seen that. Yeah.
And then there's a survey. It's like, well, do you want to eat in the field, or do you want to take a break, or do you want to
Eating's not Milsim.
Okay. All right, click this. Do you like using GPS? Do you like using a radio? Okay, click this for hardcore Milsim. And so basically they could separate and deviate all these players. So they're like, okay, so you want to be a shooter.
Right.
So you want to run out and shoot. Okay, you want, you've got somewhat of a skill set, but you're learning. Okay, we'll throw you in this group. You are an elitist prick, and we have a special home for you in hell. So
Yeah, one of those.
And then they could identify those, and then other people who feel that they could lead. So obviously there's a lot of people that do feel that they can lead, but they have to have the credentials to back it up. And then that's how you separate the wannabe leaders from the actual leaders by a tricky little survey, which I've really only seen that once or twice and would probably like to see it more.
But leaders are not, what Frank was saying was, you got the rock star mentality. So you have tons of people that will lie or say they can lead or think they can lead.
think they can.
Or honestly believe they can, that can't.
Right.
Usually, my experience is usually the guys that do lead and do a good job really don't want to do it.
No,
it's just
they
because
don't.
they have to.
Yeah.
American Milsim kind of did what I perceive as the best. They have the A, B, and C bubbles. They got a big bubble of pellet slingers. They let do their pellet slinging bullshit. And they got their B guys, which they try to cater to a little bit better, a little more high speed, a little more standards hold it. And they got the A guys, which are doing their damn missions and so forth through. So they're trying to cover as many bases as they can in one instance.
But is it a pyramid scheme?
Well,
No,
the problem is we get the same problem we had at Broken Home, where some people feel like they've paid their money and they got reeled back, even though they spent their money. It's like, I spent my money, I should never get reeled back, I should never get harnessed in. Then you look at the responsibility of the people running the game. Well, you're destroying these guys and they're having a shitty time. They paid money too. They need to have a good time also. So they're trying to balance it. You know what I mean? So
what happens?
whose feelings getting hurt?
Well, who's getting hurt? The player, actually.
Absolutely.
Because the player that paid his money and got his ass kicked, even if the game rebalances, he still got his ass kicked and he's still all sour about that. And then the player that got pulled back, they're sour about that now, because even if the game rebalances again, and even if they smoked these guys at the beginning, when they get rebalanced again, they go, okay, so we'll just do this again. And
Yeah, but see, then there's the same.
Nobody gets
the same problem. You got a whole bunch of guys that want to do a pounding. They want to pound somebody. They want to beat somebody.
both sides want to win.
You might as well. You might as well. Go to a playground, pick the retarded kid, and beat the hell out of him. That's what I feel. I don't. I would want to have the hardest fight I've ever had.
Yeah.
You do.
Exactly.
Right. So
if
like,
restrictions were placed on me, which these game hosts do if they do it responsibly, they place restrictions on me to make it harder for me to achieve my objectives. I think that's absolutely perfect.
I'll take that. Okay.
Magazine restrictions.
Magazine, yeah, whatever it is. Magazine restrictions, you can't.
Even messed up restrictions. Even, you know what? You guys are all dead. Go back. As long as it's done to enable you to have to fight harder to achieve your objective.
The thing is, though, is that we get this whole like customer entitlement idea of no one actually wins. When someone's getting crushed, we reel these guys back. And the guys that won, they go, well, we won on a technicality, and we feel good, but we didn't. We know we actually didn't win. The guys that did win, they're like, which are the better, obviously the better players because they smoked those dudes. They're like, why should we come back if we're going to spend all of this time?
Preparation.
Right, exactly. I was so impressed that ECR managed to come up with 8 consecutive training weekends in the 8 weeks prior to End State Route 19. and they worked their asses off. And I was at most of us were at some of those. You know, we worked our asses off. You know, guys spent money on vehicles and equipment and weapons and night vision and all this crap. You know, so they put the time, they put the training, they put the technical background, they put the kit into it, and they got themselves all ramped up as best as they could, got themselves all worked up into their frenzy of performance, got ripped on field fuel, went out there, that's my product placement, Florin. Went out there, rolled and smoked the opposition like a big fat joint, and then we lost.
Yeah, but
What's the incentive to go put that kind of energy into it again? If you're,
well, then they need then they have to reel back, because you can't just let one side get pounded, because then people that have the ability to learn and grow are going to say sport and walk off.
Right.
They're going to. They're not going to care. They're not. There has to be acceptance place. You can't. I mean, seriously, how fun is it just to beat somebody into the ground? Sometimes you're like, yeah, we beat the hell out of them, but then what's our point? We're just going to ever event and beat them? I want a challenge. When I walk in, I want a challenge too. I want a challenge.
You're right. I want a challenge too, and we're not going to get a challenge if you cater to the guys. Go, oh well, everyone got to win actually.
Well, I mean, what
I
you
don't want
guys are
everyone to win.
Right.
You guys are kind of touching on.
I want to fight that makes me have to win.
These guys lost,
Right.
so go the hell home, man up, train, buy crap, get vehicles, get anti-tank launchers, come out and push it in for ECR the next time.
That's right.
Kind of what Eric
But
was
that's
saying.
not what happens.
Eric was talking about those bubbles, and those bubbles are just something that happens because a hosting company needs to obviously cater to as many airsofters as possible. And I'm using the term airsofters because in the end you have recreational people that play Milsim games, and you have those guys that are squared away, and then you have those guys that are kind of in between where they want to be squared away, but they don't necessarily have the means to do it. They have the motivation, and you have all of those bubbles.
They don't have the tools.
Well, what you're kind of talking about is more of a niche where you have all of those guys that are squared away on the same field because then you don't have to cater that. And something that you're kind of talking about is making it so that the rules cater to the advanced guys, so that it's not necessarily ripping them off the field, but they're still able to play, despite magazine restrictions, maybe a respawn restriction. They're still on the field playing. It depends on how you A, structure the game, and B, who's attending that event. A Faded Giant is catered to those guys that are squared away versus, an end state, which the admission's a lot lower. The AO is a lot easier to get onto and play with. It all depends on what you want to attend.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, 2
Can
points.
kill you.
2 points with the, we'll use in-state, Route 19 as an example. So you're saying the guys who get ready, the guys who get pummeled. Some people don't realize that getting that many vehicles and that much equipment to an event costs a lot of money. So is it right for event staff to intervene